It was December 22nd, 2013, and we had been dating for about 4 years, a little bit through college and also a little bit, well, through high school and into college. And I was 19. That was actually my 19th birthday. And Erin, she was 20. And I knew that that Christmas break, we had headed home to Michigan because we're both originally from Michigan, and we wanted to see family that Christmas. And so we had moved here to South Carolina to the upstate to go to college. And so we went home to see family in the winter, which was a terrible idea. It got to negative 50 degrees. Okay, we'll go visit in August and in July when it's hot here, but we are not going there during winter. That was a terrible idea. Negative 50. Like, just to get you like an idea of negative 50, if you take boiling hot water right off the stove and you throw it into the air, it instantly turns to ice before it touches the ground. Like, that is how cold negative 50 is. Like, oh my word, right? And I mean, it was just 50 degrees a couple days ago, like with a positive sign at the front, 50 degrees. And I don't know about you, but I was wearing winter coats, right? I would not make it if we moved back home, but we love being here in South Carolina. But anyway, with that Christmas, we had went back to see family, and I knew that I was going to propose to Erin. I knew that over that break, probably like a little Christmas something, I would, propose to my wife, and I had already asked her dad and everything, and just that ring was burning a hole in my pocket. Just that feeling of, man, I just need to ask that question. I need to hurry up and just get her to say yes, because I knew she would. But I found out about a week before my birthday, a week before the 22nd, that Erin was planning this surprise birthday party for me. And she's not great at keeping things. She's not great at secrets. And somehow, I can't remember what it is, but I found out, right? And so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to let her know that I know, because she was planning some really special things throughout the whole day. And the day ended with this like kind of get together with all my friends and family at my mom's house. And so it was a very special thing that she'd been working for. And I didn't want to spoil it, right? And so I knew that, okay, listen, it would be pretty awesome if I kind of turn around the surprise. What if I were to surprise her on this day that she has surprised me with so many things? What if I were to surprise her with this question of being my wife? And so I instantly came up with the idea. And it wasn't anything complex or crazy. I just knew that this is how I was going to do it, right? This was my plan. You see, here in the area that we lived, there was this park with this big, beautiful gazebo that we loved going to when we lived there in high school. We would go grab a Little Caesars pizza and some, McDonald's, sweet tea, and we go down. And that was a common date that we did all the time. And that was just something special for us. And even nowadays, we kind of do that a little bit. And I would do it because we're also broke, just like we were in high school. We thought that would change, but it's still the same. But that was just a common date that we did. So it was a special place, right? That was a special place. Okay, check. And so I knew it was going to be there. And it was winter, right? And so it was snowing. And of course, in Michigan, it's December, so it's already been snowing since the beginning of October. And so even right now, they're already getting snow. And so imagine being a kid trick-or-treating in 2 feet of snow. It would be terrible. You'd want to wear your costume, but you'd really were just a Eskimo every year. That was pretty much it. But I just remember, okay, the snow is falling. I wanted it to be at night too. I wanted just thousands of candles everywhere. I wanted just the sidewalk that would take you from the parking lot to the gazebo. I wanted it to be lined with candles, and for the gazebo itself all to have candles all throughout, so it would just be illuminating the entire space all with candle lights and just the stars above us. And I wanted all my friends who would be there in our family to be holding candles as well. Just this special, just kind of I kind of went a little overboard with the candles. Okay, I can admit, I went a little overboard, but I wanted it to be special. I was kind of a hopeless, romantic, but I wanted this to be a cool memory. And so I remember I was planning all this with my friends, and all right, listen, you're all going to leave the party early, come up with excuses, leave the party early, go and get it all set up, and then Erin and I will arrive shortly after, and that's when it's all going to happen. And it was a perfect plan. Even a friend of mine, his name is Austin, he plays the guitar, so we had practiced together for about a week, and I was going to sing Erin a song, this song that she loved that I would sing for her, and I'm not going to sing it right now, so don't worry. And so there's a reason why I wasn't up here with our worship team. Okay, I cannot sing at all. And so, but I remember I was going to sing this song, Angel by Jack Johnson. She loved that song. And so, so we had practiced for days and days. And so here we are. This is the master plan. This is how it's going to happen. And at the end of the song, I'm going to kneel down. I'm going to ask her to be my wife. Tears everywhere. Just overflowing. All right, that was my goal. And so that was the plan. But there was one detail about the plan that I overlooked, and unfortunately led to a very very bad scenario within the whole thing that I had not anticipated. You see, the day was going perfect, right? All of her surprises that she had planned to me were perfect. I loved them. All the things that she was doing for me, it was amazing. Even the party, all the stuff that I knew about was happening, and it was awesome. I loved it. It was so, so cool. And I remember the party was great. It was cool. You know, I acted surprised when I saw her, like, oh, hey, I had no idea you were coming, you know, hi, all those things. Haven't seen you in a year, that sort of stuff. And then it kind of came that time in the evening, right? The sun had already set, lightly snowing outside. Just kind of use your imagination with me for a moment. It's dark out and it's lightly snowing, and everybody's left. It's just me and Aaron. And then my brother, he actually lives right down the street from this park with the gazebo. And so I had him call me and invite me over. And he did that. That was a part of the plan. And so we head out. We're on our way. And now we're just kind of reminiscing together. Just, oh my word, here we are. We're now in South Carolina. We're just talking about our life together. And then we kind of turn onto the same street as a gazebo. My heart begins to race with just excitement. Like, oh my word, it's here, right? And I had no doubt that she was going to say yes. I mean, I could have asked Erin standing in the buffet line at Golden Corral. I could have asked her to marry me then. She would have said yes. You know, if we're going through the line, I'm like, hey, you want to roll? How about we keep this relationship rolling and get married? Something crazy. I could have said something like that, and she would have said yes, right? But no, she deserved thousands of candles and a song by Jack Johnson, okay, but sung by me. She deserved that, all right? She didn't deserve just rolls from Golden Corral, even though they're amazing when they're covered in butter, all right? And so, so I made this plan, and we turn onto the street. My heart is racing. We're almost there, and we're coming up to it, and I'm getting ready to turn into the parking lot. Before I put on the blinker, I mean, you just see the candles. I mean, this just illuminating the entire space. It's beautiful. And as we come up to it, Aaron just says this beautiful thing, like, "Oh wow, look at this memorial service," and I'm like, "Oh my word!" And you know when you say something that's kind of stupid, that was a really bad idea. You know, you kind of wish you hadn't have said that. You know, guys, you know what I'm talking about. And so you say something dumb, and I'm like, hey, let's go check it out, right? That was the best comment that I had, right? Like, let's go check this out. Let's go say hi to these people. And she's like, what? And we turn in the parking lot, and we park, and I jump right out of the car. I'm like, all right, Aaron, let's go say hi. And she's like, what are you doing? They're looking at us. Get in the car. She's like, don't get out. Stop making a scene. Get in the car. I'm like, no, it's fine. Come on, let's go say hi. Let's, once again said something that was pretty stupid. Let's go pay our respects. Let's go say hello. Then we'll keep going to my brother's house, right? I don't know what I was thinking. But here we are in this moment. I'm having to literally almost drag Aaron out of the car so that I could go propose to her. This is the part that I had not planned. Oh my word, if she only knew what was about to happen, right? Oh my word, I'm like, Aaron, come on, let's just go say hi. It's okay. We'll see if we know anybody, right? Like that would help. No, it's a terrible idea. Don't be weird, Andre. People don't do that. People don't do that, Andre. I'm like, it's okay. It's normal. Like, no, it's not. People are just just photobomb and jump into a memorial service. People don't do that, Andre. Just come on, stay. And finally, after this back and forth for minutes, I'm sure like all of our friends and everybody was just like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Just kind of watching us. And finally got Aaron out of the car, coaxed her out of the car, and then everything went perfect. All the candles and, the song went great. I mean, it sounded terrible to everybody, but Aaron loved it. And then I got down one knee and I asked her to be my wife, and she said yes. And I just think how funny it is if she would have known what was about to happen, that the scene, the situation that we were driving by, if she would have known it wasn't a memorial service, but it was actually the very scene of my proposal, she would have leaped out of the car before I even stopped. She would have been so excited. She would have said, just stop the car, let's just run over and do this thing. She would have raced right to it if she would have known. Only if she would have, obviously it was a surprise. I didn't want her to know. But only if she would have realized what was happening, really seen what was trying to take place, what I was trying to do, then she would have just chased right after it and grabbed right a hold of it. She would have said yes, put that ring right on her finger and was like, and the tears. But no, I had a fight to get her out of the car. She saw people holding candles, and the first thing she thought was memorial service, not a proposal. And so, friends, here we are this morning, getting to start a kind of a new series together, one that I've been looking forward to. But as we're in this conversation about church, this conversation about God, what kind of rises to the surface inside of you? kind of begins to kind of float to the top. So I think there's some things that we've kind of grabbed hold of, and we've really kind of made these concrete perspectives and ideas that are resting inside of us. Things that we're just so for sure about church and about God and about Jesus and all this stuff, and it's actually not right. And maybe a lot of it has to do with how you were taught as a kid, or something that you've experienced when you were younger, or even just recently. Maybe you were hurt by church, and if that's the case, I think you're the bravest person in the room right now to be here, to put yourself out there. But I don't know what the case is for your story. Maybe you just see church as something that we do, something that we kind of check off our, being a good Christian, time card or job description. Or maybe we just say these common phrases like, oh, I'll pray for you, but really we don't. Or we say, oh, hey, God bless you, but we don't really understand what that means. We just kind of say it because it's just this normal of how we live every day, but really we kind of have this distance inside of us between us and God. And it's this normal distance. We see other people maybe having these great, thriving relationships with God, but it doesn't make sense to us. We see people who just to have this something about themselves, this essence of who they are, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, they say that they're a Christian, and I do too, but for some reason what I have is not what they have. I don't understand where the disconnect is happening. Or maybe inside of your heart, you think, man, just church is not for me. Maybe even, somebody had to drag you here to church this morning. And inside of your heart, you think, man, just church is filled with a bunch of hypocrites. All the church wants is your money. The church is not full of love like they so claim to be. And so I don't know what's actually kind of wrestling inside of you when you think of church, when you see church, and especially when you think of who Jesus is and what he really actually invites you to. You see, there's a story of this guy that we're going to read today in Mark chapter 5, and it's an amazing story. You see, something odd that kind of Jesus does is all throughout the Gospels as he's kind of walking around, he's doing these incredible miracles. He's healing people. He's raising people to life. Oh, my word. He's raising people from the dead. He's, healing people from incurable diseases and infirmities, and he's casting out demons. He's doing incredible things. And so many times along the way, maybe you've even picked this up and have wondered to yourself why it is, but so many times Jesus tells people, listen, don't tell anybody about what just happened. It's odd. A lot of times Jesus says, hey, listen, don't go on and share the news of what just happened. Please keep it to yourself. And most of the time people don't. They go on and they share it. But a lot of times people, Jesus really kind of gives the instruction, listen, don't go on and share what's happening. Don't go on and share what I just did for you. And it's kind of odd that this happens, but it happens a lot. And I encourage you, even as you're reading the Bible for yourself and as you're reading through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, see that. And notice that he keeps on saying that, but there's one guy who Jesus actually tells to go share the news. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I love this guy's story. I believe it's beautiful, and I believe it really leads us to seeing actually who Jesus is and what he's inviting to being a part of the church and what he's inviting to do inside of our lives. Because we've developed these misconceptions and we honestly don't even understand who God is. And we don't even know who Jesus is. Although we use his name a lot, sometimes in curse words and different things, but we know we bring him up. We don't actually know who he is and what he's wanting to do inside of us. And so this guy's story, Mark chapter 5, if you have a Bible there in front of you, it's so rich to have it there in front of you. Maybe it's on your smartphone, or it's also going to be here on the screen if you want to follow along that way. But it's a long story, and we're going to read all of it, and it's beautiful. As you're kind of finding it, Mark chapter 5, Mark is the second book of the New Testament, and the New Testament is kind of the back third part of the Bible. So Old Testament, New Testament, if you kind of pinch those pages and flip to it, or even look in the table of contents, you'll find just Mark. And it's a great book of the Bible that talks about Jesus' life. And Mark chapter 5 is where we're reading. And just to set the scene, so you kind of get a good idea of what's happening, is that Jesus has just jumped into a boat with his 12 disciples and possibly even some other guys, and they've sailed across this giant lake. And they go through the storm, and that's where Jesus was sleeping. And then, the disciples are afraid of their life, and so they wake him up saying, Jesus, Jesus, we're about to die, we're about to drown. And then Jesus kind of hushes the wind in the storm. It's a beautiful thing. We actually got to talk about it last week. It was an incredible time that we had together. But here in this moment, the ship that they've been sailing on reaches the other side. It kind of beaches, it runs ashore, and they all kind of unload and begin walking to land. And that's where we catch up in verse number 2. Let's read it. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. Oh, my word. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. He would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area, them being the demons that were inside this man. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Are you visualizing this as it's happening? Because there's a lot going on. I hope you're using your imagination and just picturing this in your mind. Rushed down the steep bank and into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside. The people went out to see what happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed in his right mind. Oh my goodness. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. Wow, I know that was a lot that we just read, and we normally don't read that much, but I didn't want us to miss anything in that story because so much is happening. I believe it's so important for us when we're reading stories like this in the Bible that we get to use our imagination. And I hope that you were there as we were reading this. Just picture this all in front of you, because this is all happening to real people, just like you and me. I mean, even though they weren't mentioned here in the story, the disciples are there with Jesus. They're watching all of this happen before their eyes. And so could you just kind of plant yourself in one of their shoes? Could you imagine this taking place? I mean, you had just you had just kind of sailed across this lake. You almost died in the lake from this storm. The storm was about to tip your boat over, and you're about to die. And then Jesus stood up and hushed the storm, and you were fine. And then you hear getting to the land. You're like, oh my word! You're like running to land, going to kiss the ground, like, oh, thank you, land. I'm so happy we made it. And then all of a sudden, you begin to hear these screams, these horrifying cries for help that twist and turn and almost curdle your stomach and turn it upside down. Not just someone crying for help, but that makes you want to go and help, but it makes you afraid of what you're hearing. And this man comes running down towards you and your group, and you're like, all right, see you, dry land. Let's go back to the boat, right? I don't know about you, but if I was afraid in that moment, like, all right, you guys, this was great. Let's get back in the boat. Let's leave. Let's not do this. Let's not be a part of this because this guy's terrifying. He's running at us. He's running at us with chains and rope hanging from his arms, and he's screaming, and you see the scars all over his body and how his body is bruised. And it's a horrifying moment. This man is rushing to you, not just casually jogging or walking. He is rushing down the hill right to you and your group. And you turn around and you think, all right, to make it, we got to get back in the boat. We have to get out of here. And as you kind of turn around to glance to see where he's at, you see Jesus is walking towards him. There goes Jesus again. There goes Jesus again. And he begins walking towards this man. And you stop and you stare because you're like, this guy's about to attack Jesus. He's about to jump on him. He's about to beat him up. He's about to kill him, maybe. And you have to kind of intervene, go save the day. But you are shocked to the very core of who you are when you see this man fall on his knees right before Jesus. And he begins crying for help, crying for Jesus to help him. And you're watching all this unfold in front of you as this man, and you, now that he's closer, you see the scars. You see the bruises. You see how he's been hiding in a cave, as he's been hiding in a tomb. The daylight hasn't even touched his skin in however long. And he's falling on his knees in front of Jesus. And you see in his eyes, his face, how he is weak. How you see how his body has not been just filled with nutrients, and how his body is just looking awful. And you see in his eyes how he is exhausted. How he has not been able to sleep or get any rest. And even beyond his external appearance of how he looks, you begin to see even inside of his eyes. And you see the very state of his heart and the very state of his soul. That this man is miles past broken. This guy he's past trying to give up. This man has been trying in every way possible to pull himself up from his own bootstraps and get out of this mess that he's in. Even other people have tried to help him, but no one has been able to help this man get from the mess that he's in. And he finds himself sitting there at the feet of Jesus. And as you're looking at this moment, beginning to watch it unfold, you see this man is without hope, more than you can even imagine. This man is ruined to the inside. I mean, to the very core of who he is. He's been shattered. He's been so alone for so long. And maybe even you can empathize with that. Have you ever felt so alone? This man has been so alone. And there he is at Jesus' feet, crying for help. Just for something, for someone to help him. And it's amazing. Just imagine you're one of those disciples watching what's happening right in front of you. And you see how Jesus casts the demons out. And this crazy scenario of the pigs, I mean, that would just be bizarre. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty bizarre thing to watch. But that happens right before their eyes. And this man is instantly healed. He's instantly changed. I mean, just like that. He is different. I mean, could you imagine that unfolding right before your very eyes? And so as the disciples there, as Jesus is talking to him, and this dialogue takes place, and all of a sudden he's changed, and then Jesus kind of invites him some clothes and to feed him some food. And then right before the moment where other people show up, this man wants to follow Jesus. But Jesus says, no, listen, go back to your home and tell everyone else about what I've done for you. But then as you're feeding this man and getting him some clothes, these other people show up. These other people just show up to the party. You've ever been in a friend group, maybe at work, you've been talking and somebody shows up, you're like, oh, great, they're here. Oh, my word. These people show up. And they don't like what's happening. They see before them this man who's changed. This man, they've heard him screaming for days and days, and maybe even months and months, possibly even years. They've heard him screaming for so long and in such pain and agony. And all of a sudden, he's fine. It doesn't make sense to them, and I'm sure they're filled with questions, and they even says that they're afraid themselves. But they're not afraid of the guy, they're afraid of Jesus. And so in this moment where they see this incredible change happen to this guy's life, they say, listen, Jesus, we don't get it. We don't understand, and we want you to leave. And it doesn't make sense to me. Like they want Jesus to get back in his boat and go back to where he came from. Jesus, get out of our area, get out of our community. This is no place for you. And I mean, do they not get it? I mean, maybe for you, you don't have these questions kind of boiling to, inside of you, but I don't understand why they want Jesus to leave. Did you not just see what happened? This incredible miracle. Oh my goodness. And they wanted him to leave. They wanted him to leave. I believe a huge part of that is because they saw the change of what he could bring. I mean, I'm just guessing. So they saw the change that they brought to this guy, and that's all they could focus on. Like, listen, we love how life is right now. We want you to leave. Take these powers that you have. Take all of who you are. We're comfortable with how our community is right now. We want you to go. We don't want anything that you have to offer. See, in the story, we have these two people. And that's one of the just the amazing parts of what's happening here in this moment. Is we have on one side, we have the man who was demon-possessed. This man who was fully broken on the inside, who was so alone, who was walking through life with so much hurt inside of him that no one could understand, that no way he could ever feel it be released. And even though he tried so hard so many times for it to be taken away, it never did. It controlled him. And it ruined his life. And this man, he finds Jesus. And then Jesus instantly changes who we are. And this man is set free because of Jesus. Jesus removes the captivity, the bondage of the enemy from this man's life and sets him free and puts him in a right mind and heals his body. It's amazing. Heals this man's heart and soul. It's amazing. But on the other side, we have these people who come into the moment and they see the change. They see what Jesus brought and they're like, we don't want any bit of this. They see Jesus as a burden, not as one who sets people free. I say, Jesus, we don't want you. We want you to leave. So we have these two people in front of us. One has brought their entire self before God, saying, God, I am broken. I am a mess. I'm trying so hard to fix my life, but I can't. And I need you. And this person is getting to walk in the fullness of what Jesus is so readily just eager to bring into their life. And then on the one side, we have this person who says, I'm comfortable with where I'm at. Jesus, this man was controlled by demons before, but now I see that he's controlled by you. And all I can see in front of me is how you're wanting to take over his life, how you probably even have some of these rules and restrictions and these ways that you're trying to hold him back. That you have these powers and these things about yourself, and I don't want them in my life. I'm comfortable with where I'm at. I'm comfortable with the things that I'm doing. I don't want to change. I don't want to change. And so Jesus will leave. And so, friends, we have these two people kind of sitting in front of us. And I encourage you and I ask you, who do you think best reflects you? As we're talking, we're wrestling together about who Jesus actually is this morning. The first person saw Jesus as one who sets him free. Jesus who rescues the hearts of messed up people. Jesus, the one who changes people's lives, who leads them into something beautiful, leads them into a better life, and makes them new. Do you see Jesus in that sense? Or do you see Jesus as the one who wants to hold you back? You see God and you see church as all this stuff that you don't want anything to do with because it's trying to hold you back. You don't want to feel judged. You don't want to feel condemned or any of those things. You see that Jesus, his only voice is wanting to judge you for your past mistakes. You think the only thing that God is trying to carry out is trying to make you feel terrible for your past. Or that he's trying to control your every thought, or he's trying to take your money and all those things. Do you see God in that sense? Because I believe that for a lot of us, there's a disconnect between us and God. Because it's very obvious where you probably see yourself. Do you feel like you're in this very tight place with Jesus? Or do you feel this disconnect that's happening? Because as we're on this journey of turning the corner, this new series that we're going to start, we're going to be talking for the next couple of weeks about how Jesus doesn't want us just to be in this casual belief that he is real. Or just to casually kind of go to church to kind of check it off. What Jesus actually invites us to is to be in a renewing relationship with him, where he helps us break out of the cycles and break out of the patterns of our life and lead us into true and real freedom, to kind of turn the corner onto a new path, to kind of break these habits that have been controlling our lives. Things like our generation past. These things, these habits of our great-grandparents and our grandparents and even our own parents, these habits that we don't want to have, but we feel like we can't ever shake off, that they're just a part of us. We're going to be talking about our emotions and how we feel like all the time, especially through anger, how we are controlled, how we break away from those things. What does Jesus actually want to lead us into when it comes to handling our emotions? Things like forgiveness. Things like loving people. We're going to be talking about fear and just the future of what Jesus is actually wanting to lead us to. And this morning, it's so important for us to really wrestle together and see the beautiful reality of who Jesus is, because in this story, we see something amazing. That Jesus isn't the one who's trying to hold us back. He's the one who wants to lead us into something better. He's not trying to ruin our life. He's trying to set us free. True freedom. This man who was living in the tombs, the very place where dead bodies would lay, he was living there. And Jesus brought him to life. And friends, that's who he is. I want you to see that this morning. That's who Jesus is. That he is the one who leads us to a new life. And understand that my heart breaks. My heart breaks when I talk to people and I hear that they've had bad experiences with church. Oh my word. My heart breaks. Because that's not at all what God wants you to be a part of. Because although the church is a bunch of imperfect people, and I'll be the first to say that I ain't perfect, the church is a bunch of messed up people. But we're all just in a place of wanting Jesus to change who we are. Wanting a better life with God. And so friends, I don't know where you are this morning. You see, for a long time in my life, I sat in the second seat. For a long time, I was that second person. You see, unlike maybe your story, I did not grow up in church. And I never, we went like every now and then, once a year, maybe once every other year with my grandparents. And the only parts I actually really did like were the Sunday school, because I had no idea what was going on the whole time. And maybe this happened in your childhood, but my grandma would always give me $1. And apparently I was supposed to put it in this metal plate that was being passed around in kids' church. But no, I put that baby right here in my pocket. I'm like, man, I ain't giving that up. My grandma was paying me to come to church. I love this. I'm coming back. But I just remember I didn't know any of those things that were happening in church. I didn't get any of it. And for so long, just my family, we didn't go to church. I think it's probably because both my parents just had some really bad experiences. They didn't want anything to do with it. So for most of my growing up, never went to church. And it was through my middle school years that we actually started going to church kind of regularly, and I found out it was because my parents had just a lot of issues in their marriage. And they eventually got divorced. And that led to us to stop going to church altogether. And I started to pick up some ideas of who Jesus was and ideas of what church was about and who God was, but nothing very real inside of me or concrete really formed. And with the division of our family, with life being torn completely in half, my heart was filled with anger. Anger, this rage that controlled my every thought. This rage that controlled every bit of who I was. And I let it control how I talked to people, how I treated my family, how I treated people at school. And for years and years, I was so hurtfully sarcastic to people. I tried to tear them down all the time with what I could say or how I could exploit their embarrassments or anything like that, whatever I could do to make other people feel worthless and unloved, just how I felt. And I was so mean for so many years all through school. And I regret so many of the things that how I hurt people. But I was just a kid who really wanted to be happy and really wanted all this junk to be taken care of. And so one year when I was in high school one day, one Wednesday night, my mom told me she was taking me out for ice cream. And I tell you what, if you want me to do anything for you, just bribe me with ice cream. I will do it. You know, the more ice cream, you know, I'll seriously do anything. And I remember my mom told me she was taking me out for ice cream, and she instead drops me off at youth group. And I'm like, Mom, I am not going into church. Like, are you crazy, Mom? I'm not going in there. And she kind of pushed me in, and I remember I went in, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm here in this place filled with people who I make fun of every single day. So I thought it was stupid to believe in God, to read this old book, to listen to it and follow it. I thought that was dumb as a kid in high school. But I started to create some really great friendships, and this church was very different than my grandparents' church. There were a lot of people who were there that were my age. And so I very quickly felt very comfortable to ask some questions and to explore some things. And then I started to hear these crazy offers of how Jesus could exchange the pain inside of me for purpose. And how he could exchange the brokenness for joy. And how he could exchange the worthlessness for pricelessness. I heard these crazy things. And I read about how Jesus, he didn't come to steal our life or to destroy our life or to hold us back, but to really lead us into the fullness of life. He says, I've come to give you life and give it to you abundantly so that you can have the fullness of life. I heard these crazy things as a high school guy. I said, all right, God, I'll take you up on this offer if it's real. And I remember, for me, it wasn't necessarily just a moment. It was more of just a casual journey. But I remember I came to a place where I was tired of what was happening. I was tired of how I was treating people. And I said, God, this isn't working for me. So let's try this instead. I remember I came into this journey and this relationship with Jesus, and he very slowly started to make those exchanges where he turned me into someone who loves people, who wasn't about himself, but loves people. And he's brought me into this new life with this amazing, amazing wife. Oh, Erin is incredible, you guys. Oh, if you've not met her, holy cow, she's incredible. And God has brought me into a life where I have this amazing young baby boy. And I love Mason with every bit of who I am. I love being a dad. But the reality is how I was living life and the friends that I had and the habits and the things that I was doing would not have led me to this. It is truly because Jesus led me onto a new direction. He turned the corner in my life. He took me from where I was. Not that I had to clean myself up or make me into a better person, but he picked me up and he kind of turned the corner in my life and led me into something new. And so, friends, I don't know where you are in your journey with Jesus. I don't know where you're at with God. But if you made that corner in your life, have you turned in that way? And maybe you felt like when you were younger, you did. That things were great between you and God, but then you just kind of got distracted, and now you're in a place where you're wanting to try again. Let me be the first to tell you that God is so ready, and he loves you so much. And he's so ready to be in this relationship with you where he changes your heart. So listen, don't let those regrets hold you down anymore. Don't let those things of the past Barry, you don't know the insecurities that you face every single morning when you look in the mirror, or when you go to school, or when you go to work, or when you look at your bank account, or when you look at your house or your car or your friends or any of those things. Don't let those insecurities define who you are, because Jesus wants to help you turn the corner into a new life. And so, friends, I invite you. Are you ready? Would you close your eyes just for a moment with me? See, I believe God is talking to your heart right now. And He's telling you that He's so much more than just real, that He is close to you, and that He has not left you. He has not walked away. And so if you're in a place where you want to start things over with God, would you just tell Him right now, just say, Jesus, I give you my life. I want a fresh start with my heart and my soul. I want to start over with you, God. Just let Him know. Just say, God, I want you in my life. And friends, with everybody in the room with their eyes closed, if you say that to God, would you raise your hand? I'd love to celebrate. Yes, isn't it amazing? Yes. That's amazing. Wow.
Thank you once again for watching this message. I hope you heard God's voice and that it deeply impacted your soul. I really encourage you to share it with a friend and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you live in the Moncks Corner area, we would love to have you join us on Sundays at 11 a.m. at Berkeley Middle School. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and that you continue to see more of who God is and what He has for you.